what is Palestinian Prisoners Day?
Like Palestinian Prisoners Day is a day that was added to our calendar back in 1974 after like a prisoner swap. One Israeli soldier that was captured by the Palestinian National Party or Liberation Party. 1969 was exchanged by like a Palestinian that was arrested by the State of Israel or captured by the State of Israel in 1965, I guess. And from that day on, Palestinians have honored that prisoner swap with the commemoration of April 17th being the Palestinians Prisoners Day. So that's why it's April 17 of every year. So this issue is like covering the entirety of Palestine. So like you have Palestinian prisoners, Palestinians are fragmented under 4 different Israeli legal systems. So the so-called Arab Israelis, like if any of them would post anything against the genocide, they will be imprisoned through civil, laws. So Palestinians in Jerusalem, Palestinians in Nazareth, for example, they're subject to Israeli civil discriminatory laws.
Right.
While Palestinians in the occupied West Bank and in Gaza, nearly 5 to 6 million of us are subject to Israeli military court system. So if you are subject to Israeli civil system, like you are arrested for something as simple as posting a Facebook or posting in social media in a way to be critical of Israel's savagery and Israel's fascistic behavior. So you have that captured population where thousands of Palestinians have been locked up for organizing something as simple as a protest or a sit-in against the genocide. And then you have Palestinians in Israeli military courts. So that's what the focus is on. Since 1967, more than 1 million sentences were produced by those Israeli military courts. So according to the Israeli military rule, Palestinian from the age of 14 onwards is considered an adult.
No way. 14?
Yeah, 14. So if you're at the age of 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and you break any of the 1,000 plus military orders, then you'll be arrested. You'll be standing before a military judge in a military court, and you'll be sentenced. Essentially, anything is deemed, anything related to your existence as a Palestinian is doomed to be political. Right? So any Palestinian can be held for participating in a political activity, and then you're arrested and you are sent to jail or sent to court. The sentence rate is 99.7%. So there are no innocent Palestinians out of those 1 million plus sentences. So it goes on from the age of 14 onwards. We're talking about nearly 40% of the male population that exists in the occupied West Bank and Gaza. They went through that. The State of Israel has more than 14 torture centers. Have been locking Palestinians in those torture centers. It's your death is not the end of it, because the State of Israel can keep your body. Once again, it's that level of sadism.
So I was reading about this, which boggled the mind, this particular concept, and it's called administrative detention. What is that?
When you are kidnapped from your family's house or from any of the 900 plus military checkpoints that are placed throughout the West Bank, thrown in jail, you are not allowed to know what you are being held for. Your lawyer is not being allowed to know what you are being held for. Your judge is not allowed to know. The military judge gets a piece of paper saying classified evidence, and it's renewable sentence of 3 or 6 months, So you can be held indefinitely.
And many people are.
Many, more than, almost half, nearly 3,450 Palestinians, are held under this. So you are not allowed to know. why you are being held, and it's just like mind-boggling in a way. Like even when you are released, you are not told what you were held for, so there is no way you can avoid. You know, like sometimes let's say you were held for throwing rocks. You know that when you're released, you should not throw rocks.
Right.
But when you're held and not allowed to know what you are being held for, and then you are released and you are not allowed to know what you were, it's like, what is it you are going to avoid doing?
Right.
You know, one dear colleague, like somebody I went to university with, like he was held in administrative detention like 8 times, and he would always like go into hunger strike, literally starving himself to death in order to get sentenced. Just tell me what I'm being held for. And his last hunger strike lasted for 80. Like he went in hunger strike 6 times in 8 sentences. And the last one was 84 days, where he was found dead in the Israelis stole his body, and up until today, they are keeping his body. They are keeping the body of Walid Khalid, who's like 17 years old.
Very recently, Israel passed a death penalty law, pretty much allowing the state to hang those convicted of terror offenses within an accelerated 90-day period. But this law only applies to Palestinians. It doesn't apply to Israelis. Do you think this is significant?
You know, I mentioned first Palestinian prisoner that was involved in a military prisoners swap.
Right.
In 1974. His name is Mohammed Hijazi Bakr. He was sentenced to execution. So the execution law is not something that is new. What is happening right now, in order to protect Israeli criminals who murder Palestinians in prison, we just need to legalize murder of Palestinian prisoners. It's not like there's no murder of Palestinians. No, the state of Israel have murdered 100,000 Palestinians and more without having an execution law. So what is happening is legalizing murder. When they legalize murder of Palestinians, it means that the law is controlled by murderous criminals. If Israel will start executing Palestinian prisoners after this law, then what can we call all the 350 plus Palestinians that were murdered outside the execution law? So it's some kind of media circus that is taken out of context. Just say the state of Israel might start executing Palestinians. It's just once again, the state of Israel has a legal system, a very comprehensive legal system that aims at the legal protection of every single Israeli rapist, every single Israeli criminal, every single Israeli soldier that is committing genocide, every single Israeli politician that have been actively calling and doing genocide. So the entire legal system of the state of Israel is built to protect criminals.